All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for a little NASCAR 07 racing at Dover for the Dover 400. Race number 2 of the chase for the Cup, coming off a dominating win at New Hampshire yesterday, the most dominant win of the season. In fact, the last 2 races that we have ran, Bristol night race towards the end of the regular season, in which we clinched in race 24, and this most recent win at New Hampshire yesterday, the 2 most dominant wins of the season. What will that bring for the Monster Mile here at Dover today? It should be an interesting one. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more daily NASCAR content if you have not yet done so. We're getting ready for this race here today. Just going to drop the air pressure here for the start of this thing. I blimped it up for qualifying so I can get a better qualifying lap in, and we did qualify in the 3rd place position. We did win at Dover earlier this season, so we are going for the Dover sweep, and I am looking forward to this one, to say the least, here today. Let's get this underway. Enough talking. I got to get this race done so that way we can get this done before Monday Night Football, because my Packers play tonight and I got somewhere to be for the game. Green flag is in the air. Jeff Gordon's on the pole. Tony Stewart's outside front row. Johnson outside row 2. Dave Blaney inside row 2 as we get started. A lot of chasers up here at the front of the field to kick things off. Already clipping the apron on the initial start, which is not good for me. We're going to make our way out of the first lap unscathed. Lost 1 position to Matt Kenseth. 2 positions, actually. Kenseth and Johnson got around us. Johnson to 2nd, passing Tony Stewart, who was outside row 1 as well. And Jeff Gordon will lead the opening lap of the race today. 100 miles to try to get it done, or 400 miles, excuse me, on a 1-mile racetrack to try to get it done and get these first 2 wins in the chase. The 1-mile tracks and less in length are so good for us. That's why we dominated at New Hampshire yesterday. The idea to try to lead the most laps and win the race yet again today. We only have a 25-point lead over Greg Biffle, who did finish 3rd with laps led yesterday as well. He came in as the number 2 seed, so we only had a 5-point gap over him as it was. So not sure where he is at right now. Actually, I think he might be the car behind Casey Mears in our rear view. So about 6 is where Biffle's running. Johnson falls back a spot. Blaney going to get around him. Big run for Blaney. Inside of the 20 of Tony Stewart now. Door to door entering turns 3 and 4. Apron's so treacherous here at this racetrack. Definitely don't want to hit it at all costs. Blaney right back to where he started. Johnson follows the 22 to get by Tony Stewart. Wade, thanks for tuning in. Blaney looking for a pass on Matt Kenseth in the 17. Side draft in that left rear corner panel. Take the air off the rear spoiler just a bit. All clear for 2nd off turn 4, and Jeff Gordon, who's led the first 5 laps, trying to hold on for the lead. Blaney heavy braking into turn 1 there. Want to make as clean of passes as possible. Don't want to cause an incident, go to the back. Don't want to clip that apron. Got to give myself enough room in the corners to make it myself. So if we're going to get crowded, I'm just going to kind of give this car the position in front of us so we can get a strong enough run to the inside. And that time, that was all Jeff Gordon right there. That was a late crowd by Gordon. Blaney holds on. Got a little loose, not going to lie. Johnson had to lift to keep it off of us as well, and that costed him a spot out of everything that happened there at the front of the field. Gordon being aggressive. Slight nudge again. Clear. Off turn 2. That was an aggressive clearance. There was a little contact through the corner, but both cars kept it off the wall. And this should be the first lap led of the race for Dave Blaney. And he's got it at the line. So the first 7 laps were led by Jeff Gordon. And a lap led now for Dave Blaney. Over 3,500 laps led on the season for Blaney after yesterday's dominating win at New Hampshire. The 4,000 mark is up for grabs if we dominate Phoenix and Martinsville like I know I can. Especially today as well, if we were able to lead a couple hundred laps. So we could look at breaking the NASCAR record for the most laps led in a single season. Now, we did that on our first season of NASCAR 07 as it was with Mark Martin, which was way better equipment, A-tier equipment, compared to the C-tier equipment we're dealing with here with Blaney. A lot less wins than we had with Mark Martin. We had 20 on the season there. And as of right now, 14 Could probably get a few more. I don't think we're going to get to 20 with all the intermediate tracks that we still have left to run, including another super speedway race at Talladega. Might be able to squeak a win out here and there on the intermediates if we're lucky, but that's why we got to win today. We got to win Martinsville. We got to win Phoenix. I said it going into the chase. And New Hampshire, obviously, but we already conquered that. If we lead the most laps and win those 4 races, we're at least putting ourselves in the best position we can, with the other 6 going to be a detriment to our speed. We're really going to have a disadvantage on the bigger tracks. Desperately just trying to hold on to the lead right now. I'm all for short pitting in this race if it allows me to do so. A lot of smoke on the back straightaway, like there was a near incident last lap. Went caution-free at New Hampshire in the first race of the chase. It was our 3rd caution-free race of the season, only with Michigan in the first date at Michigan on the season, as well as at Indianapolis for the Brickyard 400. Huge pack of cars just behind us at the front of the field with Tony Stewart and Jimmy Johnson side by side through turns 1 and 2 for second place yet again. Stewart wins the battle. Kenseth underneath Johnson for third, as Blaney tries to hold off Stewart at the very front of the field still. I'm off till when? I'll actually be streaming tomorrow, but then I'm taking Christmas off. So that's the plan. I'll be streaming tomorrow. I have to work a full day tomorrow anyway at work. So we'll have our, usual 6 p.m. time slot. Just starting an hour early today because of the Packers game later tonight. Did that for the Thursday night game a couple weeks ago, too. I got some B-dubs to pick up just like I did that Thursday also, so I'm going to have to kind of hustle out of here at the end of the stream. Jimmy Johnson looking for the lead underneath Dave Blaney. Very tightly contested at the front of the field. Blaney led that last lap. But Johnson should be able to clear him off of turn 2, and does. This will be the first lap led for Jimmy Johnson today. He came in as the 10 seed, had a top 10 in race 1. In fact, the only 2 drivers to not have a top 10 in our first race of the chase was the 2 Robert Yates Racing Fords of Elliott Sadler and Dale Jarrett, who still finished top 20, but not top 10. And that's why they're the only 2 over 100 points out of the points lead. And even then, they're still within a race worth of points of the leader. All 10 could very easily win this championship still. And not to mention, all 10 mathematically could be the points leader at the end of this race, depending on where the finishing results land. Johnson was able to lead for 1 lap. Dave Blaney got him back that next lap. So 3 different drivers have led so far today. Johnson's got a quick car for him to just kind of get underneath us like that. Almost clipped the apron right there in the middle of 3 and 4. Got to block Johnson on the front stretch now. So we enter turns 1 and 2. Johnson goes wide. I knew I was going to go wide. I carried a lot of speed on a very low arcing line into the corner. And here's Greg Biffle, who is second in points. I'd like for him not to lead a lap, but I'm not going to be too aggressive if he does get underneath me. I'm not going to pinch him off, especially this early in the race. We just got to stay up around the front of the field. I'd like to lead the most laps. I still think we will. Led the most early in the first 21. Ethan Chua, thanks for tuning into the stream. And also, I guess somebody else in the chat. Javier, thanks for tuning in as well. Blaney won the pole at New Hampshire in 2007. Yeah, I think that was his only pole of his Cup career, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that. Yeah, car tomorrow. This is the actual, technically this is the 2006 season on NASCAR 07. So when we ran that race, we didn't technically replicate history because he didn't have the pole in 06. New Hampshire was kind of weird. Didn't Patrick Carpentier have a pole there? Someone else had an obscure pole at New Hampshire one year. Maybe it wasn't New Hampshire and it was like Richmond or something. There was a short track where there was another driver that has no business running up at the front of the field that qualified on the pole for a race around that same time period. I think it was Carpentier. If it wasn't him, maybe it was... I know Scott Riggs had a pole or 2 in there, but at least he had a competent Busch Series career. He won a couple truck races as well. Should have won the race in real life. Well, he wasn't quite that competitive in the race itself. Wasn't that the same race that Hamlin and Gordon had the photo finish, or was that the wrong 07 New Hampshire race? I know in 07 that Gordon and Hamlin had that finish with each other. And I think that was the first race there, which I think also was that race that Blaney had the pole. Biffle nearby. Yes, he is. Hammering us down for second, or from second, for the lead. I don't know where he qualified, but we saw him in 6th towards the beginning. By the way, somebody did just blow an engine that last lap and is currently on pit road. It looks like it might be the 66 of Jeff Green, but I'm not entirely sure on that. Green was so close to making it into the chase. He was 4 points back with 3 races to go outside the cut line on Jimmy Johnson. Kenseth was only a point back at that time period as well. Kenseth was 29 points back going into the regular season finale, and he's had a stellar chase so far with qualifying towards the front of the field. Here today, he's been as high as second. He's currently running, it looks like, in 6th. Had a top 10 at New Hampshire. He would definitely be a championship contender if he was able to get into that cutoff in the top 10 at the end of race 26. No DNFs during the chase. Not for us, and none of the chasers have so far either, so they're all keeping themselves in it. We've only had 1 DNF on the season. That was all the way back in the Daytona 500, though we did finish 41st at Watkins Glen as well, but we did finish on the lead lap in that race, and I would have finished 29th had I not pit under the caution with 2 laps to go. I did not think that that was going to end the race. We typically get green-white checkers on this game, so that was crazy that we didn't that day. For whatever reason, I ended up pitting. I would have stayed out if I would have known that we weren't going to have another restart. So I lost 12 spots technically the last lap there, but all in all, it didn't hurt us any because we weren't going to win the race. And we still got the number 1 seed for the chase, so I can live to forget that one. Some of the other ones like Michigan, a second Michigan race, that still haunts me. That was like 5 days ago now. We've had a few races in between then. That's definitely a race I would have liked to have had back. It stings more because it was my home track. I always like racing at Michigan on these games for that reason. I've been there more than any other NASCAR track. Holds a special place in my heart. So even on the video games, I really like to race there and hopefully win there. 32 laps have clicked by very quickly in this race, I might add. Again, we've got a long, long way to go. Off the racetrack a little bit. Slight mistake by Blaney. Had to lift off the exit of the corner. And that's going to give Greg Biffle the lead. And a crossover off turn 4 to get to the inside. Biffle's still going to lead that lap at the line, but down into turns 1 and 2 on that follow-through. Blaney's going to take back the lead again. And if Biffle doesn't get down to the bottom quickly, he's going to lose another spot to Tony Stewart. Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson barreling down behind him. Slight mishap there. My car's a little edgy down the straightaways. I do have downforce in it. It's not as bad as it was in qualifying, because I took a lot of air pressure out of the tires before the race started. I wanted an edgier setup for qualifying, so I wasn't starting mid-pack, and didn't quite qualify on the pole. I started third, but it only took us 7 laps to get to the lead. Well, Biffle got his bonus points, so I think it was worth it. I know he's falling back right now, but he's got a fast car, and I'm sure he'll be back up at contention. Definitely be a contender for the race win today. I definitely want to keep track position at all costs. You know, if we get a caution in the middle of the run, I think we're just going to have to pit, unfortunately, because I think everybody else will come down. We saw that at Bristol. I can learn on that for the regular season on a shorter track. Get far enough into this run. I'd imagine it's going to be a 3-stop race today. Should be pretty easily a 3-stop race. We did have a few cautions at Dover earlier in the season. Why no speed like New Hampshire? I'm not exactly sure. I think it's because it's a flatter track, and for some reason it seems like the flatter, shorter tracks are better for me than just the normal, like, short track. So although this is an intermediate, it races like a short track, 1 mile in length. And kind of like Darlington. I think I'll be up here at the front of the field, but that's why we got to keep track position, because working our way through the field, we're not going to be that much quicker than everybody else, so it's going to take some time to do that. Johnson back into P2. Ken's at third. Biffle looking for fourth. Laps, but caution-free so far. Jimmy Johnson looking to take his second lead of the race today. 4 different drivers have led in these first 40 laps. All chasers. Jeff Gordon, Dave Blaney, Jimmy Johnson, then Blaney again. Then Greg Biffle, and now back to Blaney again. Blaney's led 3 times, the only driver to lead more than once. I could see our first lap car far off in the distance. Honestly, I really like the balance of this car in the corners. Like, I can feel that it's on the looser side, but it's nowhere near loose. Like, it's going to turn too freely in the middle of the corner. Although it kind of did that time, but I think that was more my fault than the car starting to go away on me. Biffle got backed up on the rear of the 22 and checked up, about to lose a spot to Jimmy Johnson. That was the same thing that happened to Kenseth earlier. Did the same thing just a couple laps after taking the first lead. Matthew Dorter Bruno, thanks for tuning in. Johnson looking low for the lead. Blaney just able to cut him off in the center of the corner. Gave up the bottom on entry and then was able to get the turn in the center off to cover the inside and keep the 48 out of the door panel, the 22 by corner exit. Harvick looking for second for the first time today, and I see Dale Jr. creeping up. Jr. had a very quick car at Dover earlier this season, led a bunch of laps. He actually passed us at one point and started pulling away from us in the middle of the race. Had to make some adjustments to try to get the car a little quicker. And those same adjustments are pretty much about what I had for qualifying, and then slight, well, I should say slight, a major air pressure change before the race here today as well. Kansas Speedway tomorrow night for our Christmas Eve race 3 of the chase. Alternate through the different camera angles for the first time today. Again, lap 48 here at the Monster Mile. Fastest lap of the day, 22.281. I kind of diamond cut the entirety of turns 3 and 4 that time. Trying to get a run on this 40 car so I can have an easier time passing him. Set him up through 3 and 4. Got to him in turn 1. Complete the pass on entry into 3 after running side by side down the back straightaway. Jimmy Johnson going to try to get by the 40 car next. So Stremme will be the first car to lose his lap. Kyle Petty in the 45 car at the very tail end of the field now. Fastest lap of the day again for Blaney, 22.248. As the 48 of Jimmy Johnson was able to get by Stremme 2 laps ago. A lap after Blaney did. Nice tighter low exit off the corners. If I could do that consistently, we may be able to start creeping away from these guys, especially if I can start doing that later and later in the run as the tires are falling off, but I think I'll be able to do that quite right now. I'll tell you what, it takes a lot of focus to make some great laps here at Dover in this game. Most games, really. This track is, I mean, it's so quick for as short as it is. Like, I know it's not a traditional short track, but it races like a short track, but it's so fast like an intermediate. I mean, you're going over 170 miles per hour on a 1 mile track, and you're not really going that far below 150 miles an hour in the middle of the corner. I mean, 148, 149 at the slowest through 3 and 4 that time. Turn 1 entry, 173, I think it was. It's just such a fast track all the way around. We did hit halfway out of gas right at lap 53, so the fuel mileage is going to be about the same as what it was at New Hampshire yesterday. We're going to be pitting roughly every 100 laps. Not going to have much of an ability to try to short pit it all today. Matt Kenseth takes over second from Johnson. We've seen a lot of changing of positions in the top 5, really since the very start of the race. Hit at lap 103. That's what it's looking like right now. Go a few laps past lap 100 just to be safe. It's always better safe than sorry. Like Sorensen might have popped the wall off turn 4 that last time. Gives us plenty of room to make the pass at turns 1 and 2. I wish every lap car would do that when we catch them single file. Just go way to the top, give me plenty of room to make the pass to the bottom. There's no stress whatsoever there. So I'm doing a lot, honestly, right now to just try to keep control of my car. Packers game at 1. Not at 1 next week. Would they flex the game into the afternoon? Later afternoon or something? Or was it always that way? I really don't know. I had no idea what time it was supposed to start. I know they play Minnesota, so it wouldn't surprise me that they might have flexed it. I don't think they can start doing that until they get to the final 2 weeks of the season. Which, there's only 2 weeks left. The NFL season starting next week. All right, lap 63. There was some college football going on today, too. Some bowl games early in the afternoon. I was watching the Myrtle Beach Bowl earlier. That started at like 11 a.m. local time. That was an early start. I noticed all the fans are wearing like jackets and sweatshirts and stuff. I'm like, it can't be that cold in South Carolina. And sure, it was 48 degrees. I was surprised. I'm like, I didn't think it got that cold down there. It's got to be because it's on the shoreline, but even still, I thought it was south enough. I mean, there's gators down there. I would imagine it's got to be like swampy, muggy enough, like almost year round to have that. I don't know. I was shocked. It's got to be about as cold as it gets. I don't know of anybody living in South Carolina. You'll have to let me know in the chat. But only time I've been there was in the summer. But yeah, I thought it was down south enough. It never got that cold. Shell's one of the best gas station companies. Well, as a Penske fan, I guess I should probably go to Shell more often. That being the case. I will say, ever since Advanced Auto Parts started sponsoring Ryan Blaney, when I was needing to get new parts for my old car every so often because it was getting older and I was having to replace like the original parts on the car, I would always go to Advanced Auto Parts to buy it. Just for that reason. Before, I used to go to like AutoZone all the time, but I was like, well, you know, I guess I got to support my guy, so start going to Advanced. Aunt and uncle lived there for 30 years, Myrtle Beach, or just South Carolina in general. Don't go to South Carolina in the summer. Yeah, I know, it gets hot. I was only there because of the Southern 500 2020. But yeah, it was in the low to mid 90s all weekend. It's pretty hot playing golf that day. I don't mind playing golf when it's hot, though. I feel like I could play better because I take advantage of being able to hit the ball further in the humidity. So I try to... And it's usually drier, too. Especially if you go there when it's on a drought. Hit my drives like 320 plus. Well, my club was newer at least. I need to get a new driver at some point. Hopefully this winter. Before golf season starts back up again. I think he's dead. Like, I have way more muscle than I did when I started playing golf. I was just talking actually yesterday on the channel about being a beanpole in high school. You know, 150 to 160 pounds at 6'4". Now I'm around 200. Been working out the last couple of years. And like, you would think I would be able to hit the ball further now than what I could at that point in time. I don't think that I've really changed my swing that much. But it's also the same driver I've had that entire time, too. So, you know, 6-7 years as much as I play, even though I didn't play much last year, but just all the years before that. Man. Club's taking a beating. Big moment there off turn 4. Had to lift to keep it off the wall. Jimmy Johnson's going to get back to the race lead. Got back into the gas a little too soon. Tried to find a way to get him back. Scraped with the wall off turn 2. This is the first time I hit the wall today. Just 2 laps in a row on that end of the track. Just kind of pushed a little wide. I think I led that lap at the line. It was close. Oh, Johnson! Just completely crowded the 22 there. Sideswiped him right in the middle of the corner. And dangerous area of the track and the car for Blaney. To have that kind of contact, that could have been bad for both parties. Pennzoil in the car? You know what? I think I do. When I get my oil change, I don't really... I just take it up, whatever they end up having, brand-wise. But I'm pretty sure at the Midas I go to that it's Pennzoil. So yes, but not... by choice, I guess. Full synthetic. Saw the Washington Philly game yesterday. I did watch a little bit of that game towards the end. Once it went to bonus coverage, in my region. It was like 3.5, 4 minutes left in the game. Pretty much saw the entirety of that final drive from Washington. And then the defensive stop that they had before that series to give themselves a chance. Yeah, Jaden Daniels is definitely getting the Rookie of the Year. I don't know how he doesn't at this point. I didn't know if it was ever even a contest. Oh, I mean, Bo Nix is there with him, but Daniels, of the games I've watched, and I haven't seen much of either team really, but I've actually seen more of Denver recently because they've had a couple of primetime games the last few weeks. I've probably seen less of Jaden Daniels this season when watching football, but the times I've seen him, he's just looked way more fluent and against way better teams too, like Philadelphia. The games I've watched, Denver against Cleveland, and he was doing good in that game, but he was still making some mistakes. He still threw like 2 or 3 interceptions that game in a shootout with the Browns. Water tank gas, yep, getting pretty low. Be pitting pretty soon here. Alternate through the different camera angles yet again. About to approach lap 100. Out of 400 today. Lengthier race. Had 3 straight races go under 2.5 hours. I don't think this one's going to be, with it being 100 laps longer in distance than what yesterday's was on the same racetrack in length, 1 mile. Who do I think is going to get the first round bye since Philly? Well, I mean, I said it was going to be Detroit before that. I think you're just trying to egg me on to talk about your Lions again. I get it, man. They're great. Enjoy it while it lasts. Although, as young as they are, it might last for a while. You got a good young nucleus around them. Goff's, 30, 31? He's going to be around for a minute yet. Flip the apron there, get a little loose. Up off of turn 2. Comes Jimmy Johnson barreling down. Boy, a lot of contact there through 3 and 4. Pretty much all the way down the front stretch with Johnson and Blaney, and Johnson's going to retake the race lead. That is extraordinarily tight. Oh, contact! That's going to give Blaney a decent lead. There were 3 wide with the lap car on the outside, and there was contact between the lapper and Jimmy Johnson, who was the car in the middle there. Johnson was sideways down the back straightaway, but held on to it, and now it's about a 1.5 lead for Blaney. 1 lap after Johnson took the lead, Blaney gets him back. The contact bridges out a decent-sized gap now. I'm thinking about short pitting this first run, trying to... Well, I don't know about that. Hang on. I was thinking about it, but we got cars pitting right now. Probably not. I don't think we're going to really get much out of it. Yeah, we'll just go as far as we can. We'll probably end up losing the lead temporarily, but we can drive, get him back. I just don't want to lose, like, major track position and my luck get a caution, trapped a lap down or something. That would be tough to get back. At least it'd be a long ways to go in the race still. I like to not deal with that if I can help it. It's not just the rest, it's just the idea of playing one less game. Like, it's so huge. Especially, you know, as short as the NFL playoffs are. You only have to win 2 games to go to the Super Bowl. You get a bye instead of 3. Plus, they're all at home. It's just, your path is just so much more clear. Oh, we saw both 1 seeds last year make it. Or no, KC wasn't a 1 seed last year. My bad. Niners were, though. The year before that, KC made it. They were a 1 seed. Yeah, but you usually see at least one seed. I mean, I'd like to know when the last time that, you know, out of the 2 teams that make it to the Super Bowl, which time was the last time that neither of them were a 1 seed? Two tire stop? No, I'm taking 4. Definitely going 4 tires. Four tire stop. We'll top off on fuel. Gonna go a couple laps past lap 100. Just to be safe on the fuel side of things. Out of the 100 laps so far, we've easily led 80 plus. Quarter of the way home. Working our first pit stops of the race. Still 2-second lead over whoever's in second. So we might lose the lead to somebody else here temporarily when we come to pit road. Staying out this time by. I'm going to pit at lap 102 just to be safe. We just ran our fastest lap, 22.211. Fastest lap of the day. On the last lap before making our first pit stop. And again, it is under green flag conditions. And here comes Blaney into the pits. That was a solid pit road entry. No adjustments here. 4 tires and a full tank of Sunoco race fuel. Oh, dang, I didn't realize the Fresno State Northern Illinois game is in overtime right now. Playing on the blue field. Idaho Potato Bowl. I was like playing Boise State in the EA games just to play in the blue field at least once in my Dynasty modes. It's unique. So definitely losing the lead. Kevin Harvick is actually going to be out in front for the first time today. Oh boy, that was so close. 3 wide middle there as we were trying to get up to speed inside of Sadler, but the 42 tried to duck underneath both of us going into the corner. Held on to the car. We're going to be back at 7, 2 seconds back. So Harvick led that last lap. Johnson takes the lead through 1 and 2 to get back out in front for the 3rd different time today himself. Blaney has led 4 different times today. Going to be looking for a 5th as he tries to drive closer to the front of the field. So definitely a 3-stop race here for the 22 team. We're not the only driver that made it 100 laps through that run, but there were quite a few that pitted before it. That are probably going to be in a tighter fuel situation if it goes caution-free, just like it did at New Hampshire yesterday. Only difference is we were the only one to make it on 2 stops. Everybody else had 3. At least it does look like we'll have a few drivers that will go with 3 stops today instead of 4. Pass made on Ryan Newman. Pretty tight through 3 and 4 to make that move, but clean pass was engaged. Field Jr. in 3rd, Matt Kenseth 4th, Kevin Harvick still in 2nd behind the 48 of Johnson. Phillips Norelco, Razor. I've always had the Wall brand of electric razors. I got a newer one not that long ago. It was about a month and a half ago or so. I needed to get a new one though. The other one, it was getting kind of sketchy because it was falling apart on me. And actually, it was getting to the point I actually cut myself the one time. If you're cutting yourself with an electric razor, I think it's time to get a new one. I was trying to get as much use out of that last one as I could. So yeah, no, I had to get a new one. Yeah, I cut myself twice. I have to, I've always had like I always try to shave my neck like usually it's like every 3 days. Try to do it on a Monday, Thursday deal. Or Monday, Friday. Some routine there, so every 3-4 days. But yeah, I had cut myself like the last 2 times I used that. Shouldn't be cutting yourself with an electric razor. That was the first time ever that had happened. It was like leaning one way more than the other, so I had to keep it like pushed up with my thumb. And me trying to get the most out of it I could. You know, apparently I didn't use my thumb to push the cover on it essentially up high enough on the back of the blade that I ended up cut myself a couple times. Go Cheeseheads. Ryan P., you and me are on the same page. They should have an easy time tonight with the Saints. I would like to think, at least. Taking a little bit to get to Johnson and Harvick up here at the front of the field. 5 different drivers have led. All chasers have led in this race. Harvick, Johnson, Blaney, Biffle, and Jeff Gordon. All trying to set themselves up for the championship. Dave Blaney has led the most laps so far. So he hunts down Kevin Harvick. Looking to the inside of Harvick for second. Easily there into turns 1 and 2. Makes the pass in one fell swoop. And now going after Jimmy Johnson. Slides up a little bit, taking the line away to the 48. Clear off turn 4. Not bad. Got one in one corner and one the next. Third to first and one lap for Blaney. And at lap 117, he's back out in front for the 5th time today at Dover. And probably not the last. Lost the lead several times. Me just having a slight moment in the corner where I have to lift. And by that, I mean, you know, maybe I get back into the gas a little too soon, have to lift. I mean, you really have to be patient here. I'm feathering the throttle. I get out of the gas. A little bit of brakes on corner entry. Just kind of tap it once or twice. Kind of set the car. And then I'm basically like on and off of the gas for about 2/3 of the way through the corner until I feel like I'm at that point where I can mash it and hold maybe a lower exit. Try to take the lowest line possible out of the corner, really just to make the corner in general. But there's times that just get back into it 100% too early and have to catch the car by getting out of the gas, keep it off the wall. We've only scraped the wall once today, so try to take pride in running a clean race and not pounding the wall. When you have full damage on in a full race, you can't really afford to hit the wall too many times to still be quick. Hence the Watkins Glen race for us. Can't have any of that. Haven't shaved in a week. Disgusting. Yeah, a week's not bad. Says the guy who's got like a full beard. I keep it trimmed though, like every 3-4 days. I'm like knocking off all the loose edges and stuff. Because I've had people like compliment me on it before, so I'm like, all right, that's good. I got something going for me at least on the looks department. But yeah, they're like, it's always like lined up perfect like all the time. I'm like, that's because I'm constantly lining it up. I keep the length on it, but I'm constantly lining it up like every 3 to 4 days, knocking off the loose hairs 3 to 4 days. I mean, I'm not going to say it's hard by any means, but there has been a couple times where like I'm knocking it off like a loose hair like here and there or whatever, and then I'll accidentally like kind of cut in a little bit. And then I have to just take like a number 2 or something and trim it. Try to even it out on both sides. I've only done that a couple times. I have a pretty high success rate. I've only done that maybe 2 or 3 times in the, probably 6 years, 5-6 years I've had a full beard. Yeah, it's not for everybody. I know I've been asked, like, how do I get by, like, the itchy phase or whatever. Honestly, like, mine doesn't itch, like, hardly ever. And I don't know if that's just a thing, like, when you're growing it, because it's been so long since it's been, like, super, super short, that I really don't remember that phase of having, like, an itch. I'm just going to guess and maybe say it's like dry skin or something. I mean, you still have to wash your face like you would even if you didn't have facial hair. Maybe it's just dry skin. I'm not a doctor or a dermatologist or anything, but That's my guess. Lap 130. Here at Dover, Kevin Harvick looking for the lead. Little contact there between Harvick and Blaney. Down the back straightaway as Blaney holds on to the lead. Gotta be careful. I'm starting to move around in the corners a lot more recently, and that's how we almost lost the lead to Harvick there, and kind of clipped the apron over the last few laps a couple times now, and don't want to do that. Largest lead we've had today, about 1.5 seconds. And that's only because there was contact between Johnson and a lap car at one point when we were 3 wide for the lead. That opened our gap up a little bit. And the contact was not with me. It was with, again, the 48, and I think it was the 105 car at the time who was on the outside of him. Right off the exit of turn 2. So we've had 3 caution-free races this year. We have not gone back-to-back races without a caution. We have had 3 races in between caution-free races at one point as being like the shortest amount of races between going caution-free. Started the year off not having any through the first 15, and then finally had 1, and then we went a few races, had another, went another few races, had another. Be clean shaven for your job. Yeah, there's some places that's the case. I remember that was the case when I was working at McDonald's back in high school. There was one day that I think I overslept. I had my alarm set on like PM instead of AM or something, and I went in there and I had like a 5 o'clock shadow, and they made me shave. Like it wasn't bad. Like I didn't think it was that bad. One of my managers was like, I didn't think it was worth having to do that, but they like gave me a razor. I literally had to go into the bathroom and shave. And it was the crappiest razor. Who knows how old that razor was? How many usages it was? I was just pulling my hair out basically with it. It was so bad. I'm like, you guys could have just like sent me home and I could have just went back home and showed back up in like a half hour or so. Like that hurt. I can remember that. That was the worst shaving experience I've ever had. Probably 30 years old. I wouldn't go that. If I was 30 years old, I would have cut myself up way worse than I probably did. But yeah, it was just pulling my hair. I remember going to McDonald's within the last few weeks for a nice coffee on the way to work in the morning, and dude working the window had like a beard net. Because I remembered those things being a thing, but nobody at my work had a beard. They didn't want to have to deal with that. I wouldn't have wanted to deal with it either, to be completely honest. No way. Losing wings tonight, yep. Cut yourself every single day, oh God. That's terrible. I would just invest in an electric razor at that point. It's well worth it. I think the one I have is only like $30. Like they're not very expensive. They last a long time too. I got a couple years out of that last one, and that was with using it every 3 to 4 days. So it's pretty good with the regular razors, like back in high school when I was shaving regularly with a straight blade. I would hardly ever cut myself. Caution comes out. Am I pitting? I'm honestly undecided on that right now, honestly. I think if we were within 20 laps of having to pit, I definitely am, but it's not 100% right now. I know there's going to be drivers that are going to pit, but we're only 2 stops out from the finish. We're halfway to the next one. Yeah, that's a tough question. I don't really have a set answer for it. It's going to be something to do on the fly. Because I know I can make a lot of time up on fresh tires, like after the fact, and I think I have enough speed that I can hold them off till I pit. Or at least be in contention with it. And then, you know, that final run at the end of the race, I could come out with like a 3-4+ second lead and just kind of sit on it. I think that'd be a lot more comfortable than having to deal with this, because I have lost the lead a few times. Like, they've outright passed me 4 times I've counted so far in these first 150 laps, just because they're there. And not that I make a huge mistake, but I leave just enough of an opening. They're able to get underneath me. I mean, there's 2 times they just outright passed me just because they were there. So, I mean, if I could get a gap, I would definitely like it. That's why I would have been okay with short pitting like 20, 30 laps or something like that if that was possible. But it's just not going to be possible if we go green the whole race. So I want to make sure that we're going to make it on 3 stops. So got to go at least 100 laps a run. Went 102. Probably looking at lap 204 being the next pit stop. I don't think I'm going to go anywhere after that. Dale Jr. looking for second place all of a sudden. Didn't realize he was up here with Johnson and Harvick. Matt Kenseth's kind of creeping around back there behind the 29 as well. Earnhardt cleared the 48, but the 48, the crossover on the exit of turn 4, gets right back underneath him. And passes him right back at turns 1 and 2 for second again. It's probably going to be about like Indy was if it went caution-free, where it's still going to come down to the last couple laps to win the race. Halfway out of gas right at lap 155. Yeah, I'm definitely looking at lap 204 to pit. For our second stop, just past halfway. We're not going to be racing everybody to the finish either. There's going to be guys that are not going to be able to make this race on 3 stops, and there may be some drivers to stay out if we were to get a caution. I don't think I'd be the only one. That'd probably be another reason why I think I would end up staying out, because there's definitely drivers out there that went 100-plus laps that first run and went as far as I did, about 102 laps. Because I remember when I pitted, we only had about a 2-second lead, so that told me somebody was still on the track with us. At least one other car. Lancelot, thanks for tuning in. Doing well. Merry Christmas Eve to you. It was 2, 3, and 4. You got Johnson second, Dale Jr. in third, and Kevin Harvick fourth. Ken's a couple cars that are lapped down between him and Harvick, but Kenseth's in fifth. Out of what I see in the rear view, I don't know where Greg Biffle fell to. He did lead for a little bit. No longer in the top 5 anymore. There are 2 cars that are out of the race with engine failures that are on pit road. One of which I believe is Jeff Green in the 66. I think he was the first car to blow a motor. I'm not sure who the other car is. Maybe Tony Raines in the 96? 22.211. That ties our fastest lap of the race. I ran that right before we hit pit road. That first stop at lap 101 it would have been earlier. Lost this week in fantasy football. Playoff game. Season is over. Yeah, I lost my my playoffs yesterday too. Right there with you. Stings. Still got one more league. I'm going for that first round bye. Hopefully I can win the playoff championship. But yeah. I had such a great team all year, and missing David Montgomery was huge for me yesterday. I lost by 32 points, I think. He probably wouldn't have scored the 32 points I was missing. But, yeah, that definitely hurt. Because I had Garendo as a backup, too. And then he was out, so I didn't really have anybody to replace him. I had to play an extra flex instead that I would have normally started. I think they only scored me like 2.4 points or something like that. But, yeah, I don't think it would have made up the full 30, but it definitely would have been closer. The only game he missed all season, too. Josh Allen didn't score me that many points either. He scored 40 plus the 2 weeks before that, but now that the playoffs started, I got knocked out right away. I'm like, man, why couldn't he do that this week? If he would have did that this week, I probably would have won. Had a little contact there with Reed Sorensen trying to pass the lap car. Dave Blaney holds on to the lead. Craig Franklin, thanks for tuning in. No yellows up to this point. One in yours, well, that's good. Yeah, I think the highest I could finish is third. If I were to win this week, then it doesn't really matter. I think second in that league gets your money back, and it's basically a winner-take-all. You get your entry fee back if you finish second, so it's 1 win away from that at least. Yeah, I mean, I was first in the league practically all season up until the last week. I fell from first to third. I ended up winning the first playoff game anyway, so I was right back into where I would have been. It might have shaken up who I would have played this weekend, but ultimately, at least I still made it to the round that I probably should have. Yeah, it was tough, though. I lost the last 3 regular season games, which affected the seeding. Thank goodness I won that first playoff game, because if not, man, that would have been a crappy way to go out. I was still making moves, like, the entire season, you know, whenever I needed to. There were some bench guys I was rotating around, but the original starters, I mean, they were great for me all year. There were 2 of those 3 weeks I lost were by like 5 points or less, so I wasn't too worried about it. Yeah, I got beat those 2 days. That sucked, but it was a good season. Oof. Hard clipping the apron. At least it shoved up the track rather than just spun out on me. Roughly 30 laps left till we pit again. Lap 204 is going to be that second stop. So we try to just stay in front of Jimmy Johnson to the halfway point in the race, or at least as long as he stays out of the pits for. I'm trying to read your comment. It's a little too long. I get through a line or so by the end of a straightaway, and I'll try to get to it when we get to the pit stop. I had no idea where Villiuso came from, honestly. I didn't know he played for the Blues at one point. I don't know the backlog of where we get guys from unless they're a huge name. I know Tarasenko used to play for you guys a long time. How many loads do I don't know what you mean by that. How many loads do I have in a race? Like dumps? You talking poop? What are we what are we talking? I don't know what you're talking about. Very rarely I have to go to the bathroom midstream. I'm pretty good about going before and then well after. The live commentary streams are a little longer because we go live, especially for the cup races, like a half hour before and usually still live about a half hour after. Depending on how many cautions there are. I mean, those streams could easily take a good, 4 to 5 hours. I don't know what you mean by loads, though. Transkey, thanks for tuning in. Beware of the apron transition. Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's tough here. I've clipped the apron a couple times and got a little sideways. Not enough that it's was going to wreck on me. I can kind of tell when I'm about to hit the apron. I just get immediately out of the gas and kind of roll on there and it doesn't spin out. But if I'm on the gas, oh, yeah, it wipes out. I've done that before at Dover in these EA games. Now, this track is not a smooth transition. We had a very clean pit road entry when we did make our first pit stop under green as well. Uso's in Grand Rapids. Yeah, he's kind of been going back and forth. Bring him up when we need him if we got goaltenders hurt. About all he's good for us now. the NHL level at least. Watch out for Miles the Monster. Yeah, he come out, nip you in the behind, that's for sure. Ones there, yeah. He puts up some pretty good stats there too. You know, it's kind of a shame. You do see a lot of those guys like in baseball, you know, hockey, a lot of other sports where they're great in the minors, but it seems like every time they get a chance up in like that top level or in the majors, it's such a huge difference in skill level that you're playing against. Baseball almost every day, and hockey 3-4 times a week. It's hard to grasp speed of the game, especially with hockey. It's just so much faster in the NHL compared to what it is. Like, I've gone to Toledo Walleye games, obviously living in the Toledo area my whole life in Ohio, and that's like it's like a kind of like a double A affiliate if you were to compare it like in baseball, ECHL. It's like 2 levels behind the NHL, but you go there and you watch a hockey game and it's fun and stuff, but it's nowhere near the fast-paced nature of an NHL game. Go to a Red Wings game like that same weekend or the next week, and it's vastly different. They're so much more smooth with their passes in the NHL. Like, there's hardly any errant passes. There's a lot of them when you go and watch minor league hockey. So it's probably a lot easier as a goaltender, you know, to keep track of that because you got guys turning it over a lot. It's probably nowhere near as many shots on goal, or at least clean shots. NHL, almost every shot on goal is an effective one. They don't just shoot it just to shoot it. They're like shooting it because they're open and they think they can actually make that shot, or they won't take it. Unless it's like a, you know, last-ditch effort in the final seconds of the game or something, you have to get one off. But other than that, I mean, they're just way more fluent offensively there. 22.166, fastest lap of the race again that last time by, lap 190 now. Jimmy Johnson still set in line behind us. A lot of others have pit. .135, so back-to-back laps as our fastest of the race. Oh, smoke on the front stretch, but didn't get a caution. Staying green. Tony Rain's not out of the race, by the way, because here he is on track. It was Jeff Green, and we still don't know who the other driver is. That is done for the day. At least one other driver. Jimmy Johnson pitting that last time by. Lap 192. Curious to see how much of a lead this is going to open up. It's like 1.9 seconds over whoever is still out on the track in second. Or the coach for the Toledo Walleye. Good friend of yours. Oh, that's pretty cool. Apron issues Daytona, Charlotte, Texas, Dover, etc. Yeah. For sure. Those are probably the worst ones. On the EA games. PA announcer, former Tigers announcer. Maybe I've recognized that at some point in time too. That makes sense because it does sound like him. Now I'm thinking about it. I didn't know that though. 22.069. First 22.0 lap time. Wonder if we've got a 21 somewhere deep. Wow, even more smoke on the front straightaway there. Well, if we were going to get a caution, now would be the time. Trap a ton of cars a lap down. Not everybody's hit pit road yet, but a lot of them from the lead lap have pitted. Up 199. And we're looking at about lap 204 being our pit stop. Might even be able to go further than that. I feel like I'm pacing well on fuel. Hasn't even gone down into that red on the flashing light for the fuel indicator. We got other cars pitting at lap 200. Now it just hit that red marker right as we cross the stripe. I'm going to go to lap 204. Well, I'll just play it safe. I'll just go to 204. It's not going to make a difference. Oh, caution is out. Caution flag is out for the first time today, right at the halfway mark in this race. And it looks like Dale Jr. might have gotten turned off the front bumper of the 119 car. It looked like there was contact, which led to the spin. 119 was closing it. No, there wasn't any contact. Okay, we got the aerial shot, and there was definitely no contact. So halfway through the race, caution flag is out. Blaney will come to pit road. I'm not sure how many cars might have been on the lead lap at the time of the caution. Whoever had not pitted, I would imagine, will be on their way down. And pace car's not going to lap us. We just... Crew chief could be an idiot sometimes. Double overtime. Northern Illinois wins the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. The Mac's been doing pretty good in the bowl games this year. Represent. Somebody that lives in the pretty much Mac country right around here. There are so many Mac schools within like 2 to 2.5 hour driving distance of me. It's crazy. All green flags in the air. Blaney's the leader. And I think second place was a lap down at the time of the caution. We might have had the field lapped, and we were going to pit about 3-4 laps after the yellow. Or after the lap to the yellow had taken place. About a 4.8 second gap over second, so whoever's in second place did just get the free pass. Maybe Jimmy Johnson in the 48. Because I don't see him up at the front of the field, at least. And that just made this race a whole heck of a lot easier for Dave Blaney and more stress-free. A lot of clean air in front of us. Yeah, timing of that caution was perfect here for Dave Blaney. Just at the right time that everybody had pitted but him. Well, now we really can go on the offensive strategy side of things if we get another yellow in the middle of the run, because there's only one other car in the lead lap we'd have to worry about. For the purpose of trying to win this race. I would imagine we've got to be getting pretty close to clinching the most laps led in this thing, too. Some point during this fuel run, we're definitely going to do it before we get to that final stop. Oh, boy, you got to be careful. Down on that apron again. Car might have a little bit more grip with air pressure adjustment I made pre-race. Laney pulling away on the restart initially here. Gotta stop clipping that apron. It's 2 times in the last couple laps now. I was really starting to get away from these guys too. Probably because I'm running so close to the bottom of the track. More aggressive line. When it works, it works. But when it doesn't, it gets ugly quick. Last thing we need to do is wreck on a perfect race day for Blaney to this point. Perfect execution. Need to continue to execute. Back-to-back wins. 3 straight of the ones we've raced, but remember we simulated the second California date and the second Richmond date at the end of the regular season because we had the #1 seed locked up for those last 2 races of the regular season. One more caution flag, though, and that second place car is going to be right there behind us on the restart, and it's going to be a race again. So I'll enjoy this however long it lasts. Maybe it lasts the rest of the race. Who knows? Maybe that guy in second can march through the field quick enough. Who knows? He's got a lot of cars to pass. I mean, having to go through basically the whole field for the free pass position. Tail end of the longest line, and a lot of lap cars. That lap car line that he would have had to restart behind all of them. Nobody behind the 22. Made for a stress-free 4-tire stop for the boys on pit road, though. Gosh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pick the B-dubs up before the start of the game. It's going to be a lot closer than the last time I did this. You know what, now I think about it, I think I did a modified doubleheader last time. I think that's why I got it done. Maybe I should have done that tonight. Whoops. Probably missed. Like, man, I swear the stream got done, like, earlier than I thought. Like, it was, like, 7:15. I had, like, an hour. Plenty of time. That's not the case today. This race probably going to get done. It's definitely going to get done after 7:15. There's no way I'm getting this thing done in 45 minutes. I'm racing time here. I'm not racing anybody else anymore. I'm racing time. .061, fastest lap of the race that last time by. Missed the long guy, sorry. Wasn't expecting a caution to happen. I have food on my mind. .056. Saw something about a news article in California. hover between that 3.8 4-second advantage over second place right now. Ryan Newman, first car lap down, trying to keep himself in this free pass position. Jeff Gordon just behind him. A couple of chasers. Yeah, a lot of those chase drivers getting trapped a lap down. That's not something they needed. That's for certain. Packers game at 8:15 tonight, yeah. I'm hoping, man, if this gets done at 7:30, even that's going to be tough. I don't know if I'm going to get this thing done in an hour. It's probably going to be closer to 7:45 if I had to guess before I finish this. I mean, it's taken, probably started this race 5 after 5, maybe a couple minutes after that. By that time, I actually got the race itself started once the stream started. Trying to gauge exactly where that hour-and-a-half mark would be, how many laps I get done in an hour and a half. If I get a late caution in the final, like, 10, 15 laps, I think I'm going to have to start my car. Definitely going to be crunching for time more. Playing more of NCAA 11. I'll keep you guys updated as I play that. Where my Toledo Dynasty mode is, because I was talking yesterday about losing a heartbreaker at Air Force. So earlier today, I finished up the rest of that that current season I was on. Upset Ohio State. Somebody said I wasn't going to do it. I did. What was the score of that game? 16-6. I beat them. That was the best my defense played all season. I couldn't believe it. My defense, I did have the #1 ranked defense, which is why I could keep myself in like every game. But my offense is, I haven't had a quarterback. Every quarterback I try to recruit that's like a dual threat, I can't get them there. I get stuck with these pocket passers, so I really can't escape the rush with these bigger teams. I did lose one game in the MAC on this season to Miami. Miami, Ohio. That game, the offense was just terrible. I was relying on field goals the whole time. 10-9. Then I gave up a touchdown late. And then I scored late, but I had to go for 2 to try to tie it at the end of the game and ended up losing 17-15. I missed the 2-point conversion. Tried to put it into overtime. But luckily, I was still in the MAC title game. I ended up getting the division that I was in the MAC 1 because I had the tiebreaker over Central Michigan because at least I beat them earlier in the year. So I replayed Miami in the MAC title game, had another great game with them, won on a last-second field goal. So they've got my number. Whatever reason, they're tough for me to play with, or play against, I should say, on that game because we had 2 barn burners of a game. I mentioned to you before about I usually have like 1 or 2 close games in the MAC like every season. Those were literally the only 2 close games I played in the MAC all year. Were both against Miami. They were. The one game was stressful because I couldn't move the ball. The other one, the MAC title game, I think it being in a dome kind of helped. So I think I was playing in the rain against them the first time. I swear I was dropping like every open pass I could. It wasn't really my fault at that point. I'm dropping dimes and these guys aren't catching it. And then I was playing Clemson in my bowl game, the Champs Sport Bowl in Orlando. Played them in my bowl game and trying to get a 12-2 record to end the season. That was probably the most fun game I think I had because it was kind of stress-free at that point. I want to win that game because I feel like it would kind of help with recruits because I'd be ranked at the end of the season. So I was unranked at the time of playing them. They were number 23, so it was pretty even game, really, as far as like caliber of team. I don't know how many lead changes were in that game. We were changing the lead so many times. Off the top of my head, I'm trying to think. I was up 6-0. I had 2 field goals first couple series of the game. Then they scored a touchdown on a kickoff return right after that. Like the yardage, because my defense was playing well again at one point. It was like 12 yards of total offense for Clemson. I was down 7-6. I had like over 100 yards of total offense. But I get down in the red zone, and when the field gets tighter and less spaced out, and I'm relying on my quarterback who sucks, like it's not a good time. I have to be so run heavy because I'm scared to turn the ball over. Dude had so many interceptions this season. I think I only had like 4 or 5 more touchdowns than interceptions on the year. It was bad. Almost had Jameis Winston 30 for 30 season. I think I ended up 29-24. It sucks too because it's like there'll be a guy open, and I'll throw it like 2 feet behind him, and then it gets picked off or something like that. It's so dumb. I never had that issue when I was playing as Toledo in NCAA 06. I always felt like that came a lot easier for me. Like I would pretty much go undefeated. That, and I had to learn a different playbook this time because the playbook's completely different, so that has something to do with it. I'm sure. I'm still trying to find kind of my go-to plays if I'm down late or something. Yeah, I'm playing on the hardest difficulty. It's tough. My kicker sucks, so I can't really kick field goals unless I'm within 40 yards because he just doesn't have the leg to make 40-plus yarders. Unless I have the wind on my back. Like, I've had the wind on my back in a couple games. I've hit like 41, 42-yarder, but I think his career long is 42. So anything beyond that, I'm forced to have to go for it. Even if it's like 4th and 12 and it looks like it's a 45, 46-yarder, I just don't think I'll make it. So it's hard to just take all the points you can get when you're playing as an underdog. Anyway, I was playing Clemson, so I was up 6-0, went down 7-6, gave up the kick return. I think I scored a touchdown the next series, 13-6. And then they scored again. It was 13-6 at the half I was up. Because then we kind of played defensively like the last couple series. Then they scored a touchdown. Or sorry, 13-7, not 13-6. It was 13-7 because, yeah, then they scored a touchdown. They went up by 1 late in the 3rd. Next series, early in the 4th, like, it was like the last couple seconds of the 3rd quarter they scored. They went up 1. My offense was pretty much stifled for like 3 or 4 straight series. I didn't get any points. Early 4th quarter, hit a seam route wide open. Scored a touchdown on that. Took the lead like right back. I'm like, all right, there we go. So then I'm up 20-14. They scored with 3.5 minutes left in the game. They went up by 1 again. And then I decided to throw an interception in the red zone when I was driving. That sucked because I'm like, all right, I'm in field goal range. I can play it safe. Sorry that lab car, by the way. I just kind of booted out of the way. That was unintentional. But yeah, I was in field goal range already. And then I threw an interception. I'm like, I can't believe I did that. Game wasn't over. The dude gets a first down late in the game. They're trying to run the clock out. I don't have any timeouts left. We're in the final, oh man, probably 50 seconds left in the game. I had 3 timeouts. I burned all 3 of them up. They were at about midfield after the interception return. They went for it on 4th down. It's like 4th and 6, right around midfield. So they're going for it on 4th down, trying to win the game. They get the first down, and I just let them go and let them score. So it was still a 1-score game with them scoring that next touchdown. I blocked the extra point, so I'm still only down by 7 instead of 8. So they blocked the extra point. 50 seconds, no timeouts left. I end up scoring a touchdown with 3 seconds left in the game, and I'm like, I'm just going for 2 at this point because I don't trust overtime against a better team. Go for 2. I end up getting it on a scramble play. Quarterback is slow. I subbed in a cornerback to play quarterback for 1 play. And I'm like, I'm just going to run this to the corner of the end zone. If I don't get in, I don't get in. And I ended up getting in. Won by 1 point. Then they just had a kickoff return, essentially, to try to win it at the end. I was able to cover it. I had like 3 guys back. I was playing everybody back on that kickoff return. I'm like, there is no way I'm giving up a touchdown here. Because they scored on a kickoff earlier in the game, so I was a little hesitant having to kick the ball off one more time. I was half tempted to kick it out of bounds and just have them take it from midfield from a Hail Mary. Because I thought that might have been a better chance because my defense is better than special teams. But yeah, it was a wild game. We literally traded the lead back and forth the whole game. Nobody could score consecutive times. Not only like touchdowns like consecutive series, but nobody could like score 2 times in a row. I did break the single season record with my leading receiver, though, for most receiving yards in a single season. I broke it in that championship game on that, or not championship game, the Champ Sports Bowl, I should say more specifically, but I broke it in the bowl game. I didn't think I was going to get there because he had to have like 225 yards receiving. I literally got it on the final series of the game while I was trying to win. I was just trying to win the game at that point. I wasn't trying to get the record because the game was so close, but he ended up beating it by 12 yards on that final drive. Yeah, it's tough. Using easier difficulty now. I always try using the highest difficulty with the sports games. I'm always up for the challenge. So I can remember as a kid, not being good enough to be able to do that. The only game I like really struggle with, I feel like with MLB The Show, I struggle with more than any other game when I'm playing sports games on the hardest difficulty. And I think it's just because the Tigers have been so garbage the last like decade almost. So when I'm having to use the Tigers roster from that season on the hardest difficulty, it's like hard. I'm always flirting around 500 on the hardest difficulty. So, sometimes if I'm like, well, if I want to actually make the playoffs, I guess I'm going to have to dunk it down a notch because 500 baseball is not going to get me into the playoffs. Oh, contact there. A lot of it with Ryan Newman in the 12. I didn't even think he was underneath me, honestly. Then I think he just hit the wall getting into turn 1 and Jeff Gordon gets around him. Jackson Robinson, thanks for tuning in. Haven't played any NCAA football games in years. I do like 06 better than 11, and not just because I'm better at it, I feel. I think the only reason I'm not as good at 11, you turn the ball over a lot on that game, especially like a weaker team like Toledo. I try to tuck the ball, especially if I'm playing like a rainy game. It doesn't matter. Like, it'll pop out. It gets stupid sometimes, too. Like, I'll get hit and not actually get tackled, and the ball will pop free. That happens so much to me when I'm playing as a school that's not one of the top-ranked teams. It's so hard to win. That's why I haven't gone undefeated yet. My best record was 2 losses twice now, 12-2 the last 2 seasons. My quarterback I've had the last couple of seasons, though, he's going to be a senior. The bold strategy, though, to put the cornerback in at quarterback that last play and run it to the corner of the end zone because I'd thrown an interception in the red zone the series before that. I wasn't doing that again. I'm like, all right, this guy's got an 89 speed. We're just going to run right for the corner as soon as I get the snap out of the shotgun and hope I make it. It was a risk because I wasn't going to be able to throw it to anybody successfully if I had to. I mean, if I absolutely had to, I was going to have to, but there was no way it was going to be a completed pass. Yeah, the only thing that bothers me, though, with that game is just how much I turn the ball over. like my quarterback's just not good. When I was playing as Michigan before that, trying to get used to that game specifically, I wasn't turning the ball over as much. Like I'd go through a full season throwing like 4 or less interceptions. It was no big deal. Have one here and there, but yeah, with this smaller team, I turn the ball over so much. That's why it's so hard to win. I think that one game I lost against Miami, I think I threw 4 interceptions in that game, and I lost like 1 or 2 other fumbles. I turned the ball over 5 or 6 times and still only lost by 2. It just sucks when you're driving down the field and you have like one guy to beat from scoring the touchdown, and then the ball pops free while the dude's breaking the tackle. And I managed not to be the one of the 2 guys to fall on it, split in the middle, 3 wide, near trouble off of turn 4 with about a 1.8 second lead over second place. Mid-story time there, and we had to have a wreck avoidance at the last second. We've had so many of those over the second half of this season, I feel. Between the modified series with no cautions and this season, we've had to do that a couple times in the last several races. And that was our lone instance here today at Dover. One car down towards the inside wall. I didn't even get to see who that was. Tony Raines was sliding down the track from the outside, and I was just hoping the guy in the inside wall wasn't going to ricochet back up the racetrack. That was wild. We just went right in between them. I was hoping the gap was going to open up when I got there. I didn't lift. I just went straight for it, hoping that Raines is going to keep it up the track enough. I think it was the Michigan. Was it the Michigan race? Or no, it was Bristol. Bristol had to miss a wreck. Lap 75, the only caution of the day. I almost was in it. Lap cars wrecking off turn 2, not that far in front of me. I was on the brakes the entire time and almost slid right into the back of them. Got checked up just to the inside. If they would have kept sweeping down the racetrack, I would have got hit in the right front or something. That was crazy. Barrel roll today. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully we're not doing any of that. I don't feel like pulling a Joey Logano at Dover 2010 today. .2 second lead. Second place has been closing in on us over the course of this run. Where's the Biff? I have no clue. I haven't seen him in a minute. He might be in second place in points at the end of the race. He might not. I mean, the points are so stacked, only being one race through the chase, and 8 of them had top 10s in the last race. And I wouldn't doubt that Biffle might even lose a couple spots in points after today, even if he gets a top 10. And he got 5 bonus points for leading the lap, too. So I believe Jimmy Johnson was the free pass car with the caution. We had lapped the field before the last yellow, and that was only because the caution came out in the middle of green flag stops, and we were the only car that had not pitted at that time. It's the only caution we've had so far today. The lead is now down to about 1.2 seconds, and we're getting closer and closer to our final pit stop of the race. Probably looking at a little bit after lap 300 being the third and final stop for us. So 1 stop under green, 1 under yellow. Only 2 cars are on the lead lap, and they're not separated by much. He was 4 seconds off the lead on the restart, so he's kind of slowly ran us down. He's passed almost the entire field. He missed that near incident as well with Raines and another lap car off turn 4 several laps ago. You can see those skid marks on the front stretch from him. Seas parted just for us to not have to lift, give up time. Got 2 lap cars between the leader and Jimmy Johnson. I don't know if he's going to get to us before we get to our next stop or not, but we're just going to have to execute as we've done to this point. It's down to a 1 second lead now. Really closing that gap. Kyle Lance, thanks for tuning in. Pit at lap 305. I don't know if I'm going to be able to exactly go that far. We restarted at lap 205. So maybe we can. We definitely had to pit a couple laps earlier because of the caution. I mean, it came out right at lap 201 at halfway. Maybe we see another yellow. Who knows? The spin was for Dale Earnhardt Jr. No clue if he's still in the race since then or not, because we haven't seen him since his spin. No lap cars between the top two anymore. Jimmy Johnson had to have made some adjustments to his car during that last stop, because he seems like he may be the fastest car in the field now. I mean, he's come from so far back. He's passed all but Dave Blaney at the front of the field, and that's because Blaney was already at the front of it. And he'll probably take the lead from us if he pits early again. And try to run him down on slightly fresher tires on the beginning portion of that run. Have to sit on the lead once we catch him and hopefully get around him. We've already clinched the most laps led, so we've got to win this race today. We're going to end up leading over 300 laps easily, I would imagine. We do have cars pitting right now. I don't think anybody hit pit road during the last caution except for us to try to top off on fuel, because they're still looking at drivers that are not going to be able to make it all the way to the finish, and I almost wonder if maybe Jimmy Johnson could be one of those drivers that isn't going to make it. We'll have to see when he pits behind us. .22.08 that last lap. We've gotten down into the 22.06s a couple times. Caution. And this is going to be interesting because we are right on the edge of our fuel window. Kyle Busch with the spin bringing out a caution. Jeremy Mayfield in the 19 also collected. We're going to have to pit. I mean, because we might see other cars on pit road too. Wow. Second caution of the day here at Dover, and this is going to make for an interesting situation. Oh, man, they're going to stay out. They are going to stay out of the pits. Four-tire stop, no adjustments here for the 22 of Blaney. I don't know that we can make it on fuel the rest of the way. Free pass going to go to the third-place car. I'm surprised nobody else pitting. That tells me that we're outside the window. Johnson's probably going to pit as soon as the window opens then. So we went the first half of the race without a caution. Two of them in the last 85. Kenseth is back on the lead lap as well. Up here with the leaders. Green flag back in the air, so Kenseth gets the free pass. Good restart for Dave Blaney. Quickly gets to the bottom in front of Dale Jr., but then slides up to block the 88 of Jarrett and up against the wall off the exit of turn 2. And now we're stuck on the high side. Dale Jarrett looking low. That was just the second time that we've scraped the wall all day. Johnson holds on to the lead on the restart. So we restarted at lap 293. Exactly 108 laps to go. If we get a caution before the end of this race, I'm definitely pitting again, but I think we're going to be a few laps short. Oh, 3 wide. Johnson's pitting right now. Kenseth's going to take the lead. So Johnson's pitting early. I don't think he can make it from here. I don't know why he didn't just pit. Maybe he makes it. Maybe he doesn't. Now, what about Kenseth? By the way, this is the first time Kenseth's led today. He's the 6th different leader of the race. The only non-chaser to lead a lap. Blaney on fresher tires will lead this lap at the line over the 17 car. And clear into turn 1. Slightly treacherous restart. Pause for 1 quick sec. Oh, geez. There we go. Fuel mileage race. Yeah, it may be now. It wasn't going to be a fuel mileage race at all for us. And that last caution. It's going to make it one. Johnson just, I mean, he gave up his lap so early into the run. We've got cars pitting right now, too. Kenseth's still out. We'll see when he pits. We might be racing Kenseth for the win now. At least it's a non-chase driver at this point. If Johnson can't make it 105 laps to the end on fuel, we got to go 108. He might be burning more fuel than us. I don't think Kenseth was on pit road with us. I mean, I guess if he stays out well past lap 300, then maybe he was on pit road too. Just beat us out of the pits. Nope, Kenseth pits right at lap 300, but he should be able to make it to the end from here. Well, there you have it. I mean, to win this race, we might have to stretch it now with Matt Kenseth in the 17 car pitting within the window. A lot of lap cars still on their way down. We're going to have 1 lap lead on the field for a very, very long time. And then Johnson and Kenseth will be battling for the free pass position the rest of this race until we get another caution if we were to get one. There was some smoke, by the way, in the front straightaway a couple laps ago, but we didn't get a yellow for it. Seen that off and on throughout the course of the race. And 2 caution flags to this point. We'll alternate through those different camera angles yet again. How's the car? Car feels great. I mean, we've dominated the race on the laps led side of things, but definitely going to get interesting now with the fuel situation. Only scraped the wall twice all day. Once was on that restart. We were on the outside lane. It's the most cautions we've had in a single race in what feels like forever. Caution free at New Hampshire, 1 yellow at Bristol, 1 yellow at Michigan, Watkins Glen 4 races ago. It's the last time we had more than 1 caution. 2 of them obviously here today at Dover. We're just going to run normal for now. We get to about halfway out of gas, and then I'm going to gauge to see about where we're at and maybe how many laps that we can save from there to the finish. Assuming I'll have to save. I guarantee I'll have to save some fuel, but that'll give me a good gauge as to how far we'll have to back it off. We've got a lap lead over second to do it. But we are probably racing Kenseth. Maybe Johnson and Kenseth, but more than likely Kenseth is the guy who I think is going to be the one to beat. He's still winless on the season. We've had 11 different winners through the first 27 races. So he would be the 12th. And as a non-chaser, trying to pull off an upset today. ...2003 champ. I don't even know how he didn't make the chase, to be honest. Mark Martin missed it, too. The only chase driver for Roush is actually Greg Biffle, which is crazy to think, because in real life this season, I'm pretty sure in 06, Kenseth, Biffle, and Martin made it. Did McMurray make it that year, too? McMurray might have made it also. There were definite years where Roush had 4 or 5 guys in the chase. There was one season they... Oh, you know what? Actually, now that I think about it, it might have been 5 with Carl Edwards. Carl Edwards just isn't in this game, though. That's why it was throwing me off. So he might have made it, too. Maybe 2005 was the year that they had half the chase as Roush cars. They still didn't win it. I think 05 was the year that they had 5 of them. Because I don't think Edwards made the chase in 06, but I think he did in 2005. Milk and cookies. I did not. Should probably get some cookies before Christmas. I do have milk. I did get milk when I went grocery shopping on Saturday. By the way, super busy. Way busier than I'd like to see it. Last weekend before Christmas, obviously, that was probably the reason for it. ...85 laps to go this time by. Looks loose. I mean, it is loose, but it's fine for me. It's not overly loose. I actually tightened it up. It was more free in qualifying than what it has been in the race. I haven't made any adjustments mid-race, but I did make an adjustment post-qualifying before the race started. I dropped the air pressure significantly. It definitely frees up the longer the run goes, but... This fast, if you hold on to it, we've done a great job. We've ran a clean race all day. And now it's just a matter of trying to make it up fuel. 05 had 5 Roush cars. Yeah, okay, that's what I thought. So I know Edwards had a couple wins that season in his rookie year. Oof. Sharp angle into the corner there. Heavy on the brakes. A lot more lap traffic where that came from up ahead. Shopping after, yeah, I went after my stream on Saturday. Only food I had left was oatmeal. That's literally all I had left. I had my breakfast earlier in the day, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to need some food later. I'm good to go for the next couple weeks. Cookies for Santa. I'll get some cookies for Santa. Probably grab some after work tomorrow. It's my cheat day on Christmas too, so you can bet I'm gonna be stocking up on some sweets. I didn't do that on Saturday. I wasn't thinking ahead. It was still like 5 days away at that point, so I didn't want to get something, not that like, ice cream or something like that would go bad in 5 days, but the thought of having it that early, I don't know, whatever. Wasn't thinking about it. There you go. That's what it boils down to. I just wasn't thinking about it at the time. My wants weren't crossing my mind at that point in time. $76 to go. At the line. I mean, we still could easily get another caution well before the end of this race anyway, and then we end up right back in a similar situation that we were. Kyle Petty pretty slow down the back straightaway there. I think he got in the wall off turn 2. He slowed up a ton all of a sudden. Luckily, nobody was around him. Honestly, if we end up catching a caution, that's going to be better for us because we have the field lapped again, so second place, whether that be Kenseth or Johnson, would get the free pass just like they did earlier to get back on the lead lap. It'd be a race between two, but at least I know we're good on fuel, because if we don't make it on fuel the rest of the way, I don't know that we win. Yeah, we're going to end up in the top 3, but you lead this many laps, you want to win. And I said coming into the day and coming into the chase, weeks before the chase started, been talking about it for a while, that the races I needed to win, because I know I was definitely going to have a car capable of doing so, was going to be New Hampshire, Dover, Martinsville, and Phoenix, because the other races I'm probably not going to have the fastest car on the mile and a half. So it just hasn't happened. I'm a borderline top 5, top 10 car, at times not even a top 10 car. Texas, barely ran in the top 10, finished 11th, led no laps. We go to Texas, we're going to be fighting for a top 10 that day. It's just going to be it. So we have to make up as much as we can. Super Speedways, I won at Dega earlier in the season, but I also finished 25th in both Daytona races. So it's very hit or miss how we're going to do there. Haven't raced at Kansas or Homestead. Those are wild cards as well. As far as how we'll do, Atlanta, I did steal a win, but only led the final 2 laps of that race. I think I'll probably at least get a top 5 there. I'd like to think we should have decent equipment, but that's probably going to be the best mile and a half for us of what we have left. Charlotte, I finished 5th in the 600, but I only led 7 laps. It is going to be very, very interesting how this chase all rolls and plays itself out. I'm ready for the challenge, though. Had a couple 100 points lead going into the chase. Doesn't matter now. Had a 5-point lead when it started. 45 points over 10th. Still within 100 points in the top 8 positions. Probably not going to be the case after this race, but if we don't make it on field the rest of the way, I hope Kenseth wins over Johnson just because Johnson's in the chase. If we don't win, I'd like to see a non-chaser win. Be better for us. If it were the current playoff format, we'd actually just be in the next round, and this wouldn't really matter as much for us. But now that we have to be consistent for the entirety of the last 10 races, it kind of stinks to be in this situation, honestly. Managing when we're going to get to halfway out of gas. At what point will it be? a 1-lap lead over second because they all pitted at the beginning portion of the run. And they did not pit under the caution like we did. The last yellow came out and we restarted with 108 laps to go. We've only gone as far as 102 laps on fuel. I could have potentially stretched it further on that first run, but I chose not to just out of the security reasons of not wanting to risk running out of gas, especially early in the race. Middle of the race, we had a caution lap 201, so we never really got to see the end of that. And the last run, we had a caution before we got to see the end of the run. So we only have that one full run at the start of the race. The other 2 cautions came out before the end of the fuel window. So what looked like was going to be an easy 3-stop race for us. Hindsight, if I would have known nobody else was going to pit during that caution, I would have just stayed out with them. But we didn't know that at that time. And we were the leaders, so we couldn't see what everybody else was going to do behind us because we had to make the decision to pit or not to pit first. So we pitted, the rest stayed out. They did opposite. It's forcing our hand here for the finish. Good news is, with the way that first caution came out, trapping the field a lap down at that time, leaving us for only 3 cars, 4 cars maybe on the lead lap, with the free pass car. We had 3 to 4 cars that were on the lead lap the last restart. It's better than if we had half the field, which would have been the case if we didn't see that first caution at the time it did happen. So if we ran out of gas, we're not going to lose as many positions at the finish of this race. When we look at the silver lining of it, we are going to get a top 5. No Ken Daniels tonight. Oh, that stinks. On 342. .343. We're right at 50 laps since the restart with where we're at right now. If we can go 54 before getting halfway out of gas, then we're going to be very, very close. That was 51. .52 at the line. Oh, man, we're way short. We are way, way short. We're just over, I mean, 2 laps. We're probably 4 to 4.5 laps short on fuel, if I had to guess. 1 mile track, 4 to 4.5 miles short on gas. Honestly, with the lap lead we have, that's how much time we can give up. We're on older tires to that of the leaders that pitted after the restart, so they're probably decreasing their distance between us over this run. But I mean, we're gonna have to use every bit of it to try to win this thing. It's going to really stink if we end up getting a caution when they unlap themselves. One more cars back on the lead lap. Johnson's going to be real close. If he can go that far, he might be a lap or 2 short versus, I mean, because he pitted technically 3 laps after we restarted. So he's probably looking a little short on fuel too. Kenseth, I mean, he only has to go 100, so he should, theoretically speaking, be able to make it. But he's going to be pushing the whole run. He's not going to be saving any either. 50 laps to go here at Dover. I'm hoping for a caution. That's what I'm hoping for. And I want it to be before they unlap themselves, because if it's after, then that's not really going to help us any. Just going to bunch the leaders back together again. The longer we can hold on to this lap before we start saving, the better. We're definitely pitting under the yellow. A lot of clean track in front of us, too. We really got to put some lap time together now while we have that. Because we're not going to have this the whole run. I think we start catching a bunch of lap cars when we're going to really start to save fuel. So I'm not going to be making great lap time anyway at that point. Merry Christmas to you, too. Christmas Eve today. There's a huge gap of lap cars, not that far ahead. Slowly closing in on them. We're going to have 44 laps to go this time by. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, it is a fuel mileage race here tonight at Dover. We have a 1-lap lead on the field, but that's because they pitted on the short part of the run to make it to the end. We pitted during the second and most recent caution. Restarted with 108 to go. The start of the run, from where we were at the midpoint in the run, we're looking to be about 4 to 4.5 laps short. We're going to have to back this thing up a ton if we're going to want to win. If we end up hitting, I don't know that we could drive back to the lead. The distance that they would have made up at this point in time, over 50 lap pressure tires. I mean, we could maybe go fuel only, but then they'd still be running us down. I don't know. I think we're in the gamble period where we've kind of made our bed and got to stick with it. Hope for the best. Maybe we catch a caution. We can pit there and not lose the lead, having this lap advantage right now. Doing for Christmas. Got my parents hosting Christmas this year, so have the fam at the house Christmas Day. Plan on stopping at my grandparents on Christmas Eve at some point in time. I don't know. I have to work a full day. I am streaming still, but with having to work a full day anyway, and I know my parents have to work still, we might end up just doing that the day after Christmas instead this year. Usually it's Christmas Eve, but my sister might have to work Christmas Eve too. I'm not entirely sure. But I definitely know most of us have to work Christmas Eve. That lap pack up here has been 2-3 wide for a while. It's like they're side by side now. Maybe they cause a wreck. We're not that far behind it, so we would have to make an evasive maneuver. We had to do that once earlier. By the way, this race is definitely getting done after 7:30, like I mentioned, so I am not going to waste a lot of time going through the point standings at the end of this race in the chase. So I'm going to have to get out of here pretty quickly. We've had a lot of clean traffic around us for quite some time now. Soon as we catch this group of cars up here that aren't budging whatsoever, we're going to start saving gas to the end of this race. And we have a little over a 1-lap lead over second place. We're going to be backing it all the way up. And I'm going to use every bit of that second and a half to watch for oncoming traffic out of the rearview mirror from behind us, so that way we don't get ran over. We're definitely going to be going well slower than the rest of the field. Just got to try to manage it the best we can. Oh, one car almost slid up against the wall. Might have, going into turn one there. Tough to tell who's all in that group. Only one I see for sure right now is Jamie McMurray. Our two cautions today were Dale Jr., a spin, and then Kyle Busch spin were the two cautions so far. 32 laps to go for Dave Blaney at Dover. Trying to get the sweep at the Monster Mile. 300 plus laps led to this point. And in a tight fuel scenario, trying to make it to the end. "30 laps to go this time by. We will start saving this time here in turns 3 and 4. No brake. Waiting on it. Just got down to a quarter tank of gas left this point in the run. I basically have to go 15 laps from where I'm at right now before it gets into the flashing fuel light indicator. Go to the outside. Got those couple cars by us there. Brian Vickers, Michael Waltrip, Sterling Marlin. Backing it way up. Good thing is I kind of look at the track map. There's another big opening. A little bit of a ways back from where we're at right now. So if we get down to 15 laps to go from where the flashing fuel light is, that is where we're going to indicate whether we've saved enough at that point in the run or whether we're going to have to save more. Gosh, I really hope this works. Oh, man. I mean, if we don't make it, saving from like 30 laps to go to where we need to be. There goes Johnson. Oh. Scraped the wall. Johnson in second. 25 laps to go here at Dover. One more car right behind us there, the 199. Big gap back to the next driver. Jimmy's going to be pushing hard. We don't know if he's going to make it on fuel. Kenseth hasn't caught us yet. So if we are racing Kenseth, if Johnson's going to end up being short, give us more leeway to try to back off again even later. Giving up so much time. I mean, we had to be like a lap and a half ahead of Johnson before we started saving, because it took him a minute before he caught us. It took him 6 laps of me just way out of the gas. Our lead's under 19 seconds for where we're at right now. Huge, and I mean huge line of lap cars approaching us. I'm going to have to stay down to the bottom of the track rather than the top here and have them get around me. I don't think I'm going to wipe out on the apron because I'm going so slow and I'm out of the gas. Just got to make sure I am down on the apron. I'm not powering back into the throttle until get back onto the racing surface. They're going to get stuck behind me in the middle of the corners if they don't go wide. Here's Kenseth. So Kenseth's finally catching us. A 16-second advantage over him. Big mess of cars. Rolling back into the throttle easily. Had the lefts down on the apron again. 20 laps to go here at Dover. I have no idea who would be in 4th behind Kenseth. Get out of the way down here. I was going to say, I knew they were going to be about 3 wide. We got some lappers pitting right now. Didn't pit during the caution either. Leads down to 12.4 seconds. It was a lap and a half at one point. Oh, we're going to get split 3 wide. I don't know why the one guy went high. Comes Greg Biffle in the 16. There he goes. Where's Jimmy Johnson? I don't think we're going to make it. I don't think we're going to make it. I'm going so slow. For so long. Our lead's only 6 seconds. We got to start picking it up here. I'm really trying. I would imagine I would have saved quite a bit there, but I don't know how much I actually saved. 5.3 second lead over Johnson. Blaney having to pick the pace back up again. So we're trying to manage that 5.3 second gap, which was about a lap and a half. I don't know if Jimmy Johnson's going to make it on fuel to the end, so we might not be racing him, but huge line of lap cars not far behind us. Johnson's got slightly fresher tires. So even running at pace, he might eat into it a little bit. Wanted to pick the pace up at least for a little bit longer again. Maybe we get it. I mean, I'm hoping for a caution at this point. Even though we're on the same lap now, I'll get him on a restart where I could go full speed. I'd hate being in this situation, just trying to back it way up. Left it way early on corner entry there that time. This is going to sting really badly if we don't get this all the way. We've had quite a few drivers unlap themselves now, too. 11 to go. I'm giving up a little bit more time these last several corners. About a half a second to Johnson. 4.7 second lead now. Other lap cars on pit road. 10 laps left here at Dover. 10 to go. A 4.4 second lead. Right front starting to wear out a little bit on the 22 car. I got that like nervousness in the pit of my stomach right now. This is so tense. 9 to go. Oh, Johnson just pit. Jimmy was short, so I wondered if he was going to be short too. He is. Jimmy Johnson just pit. Now the battle's between Kenseth and Blaney, and where's the lead back out? It was 4.2. 8 laps to go at the line here. I'm out of the gas off of turn 4 this time. 11.5 back to Matt Kenseth. Pick the pace up down on the apron. Let these few guys by us, then we'll drift back up onto the track behind them. How much do we give up there? Oh, we just went into the red on the fuel light indicator. Come on, please make it. 7 laps to go for Dave Blaney. A 7.5, 7.6 second lead. Got cars just coming off of pit road here. Oh, man. We've been saving so much gas. I'm trying not to use as much down the straightaways like I was before. I definitely feel like I'm still burning quite a bit there. Track map disappeared on me. I don't like that. Oh, sorry, guy. Get around me. Get around me quick. What's the lead to Kenseth? 5 laps to go. It's 4 seconds. 4 seconds to Matt Kenseth. Draft behind. I can't. There's no drafting at Dover. That ain't gonna work. We just gotta be out of the gas. Let some of these guys go. 4 laps left. We've definitely saved some because it was looking like we were going to be about 4.5 laps short earlier. We've got to go. Kenseth's coming. Three laps left at the line. 3 more miles for Dave Blaney. 1.2 second lead over Matt Kenseth. Let this guy go. He's got to get by. Kenseth is now closing even quicker. Does Kenseth have enough gas to make it to the end? Does Blaney have enough gas to make it to the end? 2 laps to go for Dave Blaney. Kenseth trying to steal one at Dover. Blaney's backed this thing all the way up. I'm still kind of feathering a little more in the corner. About a 3 car length, 4 car length gap or so off turn 4 that time. White flag in the air. 1 lap to go for Dave Blaney here at Dover. Has he saved enough? He was 4.5 laps short with about 30 to go. Turns 1 and 2. He was good there. 3 and 4. Final time. Checkered flag. Dave Blaney backs it up and wins on fuel mileage at Dover. Wow. I didn't think we were going to have enough. That is unbelievable. Oh. Oh. I didn't think we had it. I didn't think I saved enough, honestly. I couldn't have saved any more than I was because he was right there. I had to pick it up those last lap and a half or so because I saw him coming. Man, oh man. That caution almost screwed us. Had to go 108 laps the final run, and we were able to do it. I think I went 102 earlier in the race. Oh, man. I can breathe now. Felt like Logano at Nashville car. Yeah, we pulled the Joey Logano. Wow. What a finish. Who doesn't like a good fuel mileage race? I'm glad Johnson ran out because he was 5 seconds ahead of Kenseth. If Johnson didn't run out of gas too, we definitely would have lost this race. I would have had to pick up the gas a little sooner. I mean, I did, and then once he ran out, I'm like, okay, I can start lifting early again. Because I started picking it back up there with 7 to go because Jimmy was within like 2 seconds of us. 2 cautions, 22 lead changes, 151.83 mile per hour average race speed, total race time 2 hours 38 minutes and 4 seconds, 0.2 of a second margin of victory there. Had to back up a lap and a half lead in those last 30 laps to try to coast it to the end. That took an eternity for those final 30 laps. 366 laps led today for Dave Blaney. Kenseth finishes in second as a non-chaser. He almost stole it today. He made it on fuel to the finish also. 3 cars finished on the lead lap. Jeff Gordon qualified on pole and ended up leading 8 laps today, the first 8. The only 8 he led. 3rd place finish, though. Ryan Newman 4th. Bobby Labonte top 5 and 5th. Which Busch brother is Kurt Busch in 6th. Then you had Jimmy Johnson in 7th. Casey Kane 8th. Casey Mears 9th. And Mark Truex Jr. 10th. So not as many chase drivers finished in the top 10 today. The only chasers in the top 10 were Blaney 1st, Gordon 3rd, Newman 4th. Jimmy Johnson 7th. That's it. Only 4 chasers got top 10s in this fuel mileage race today. Kevin Harvick was 12th. Tony Stewart 14th. Dale Jarrett in 16th. So 2 not top 10s for him and Sadler. Sadler 19th. Dale Jr. in 18th. Greg Biffle 20th, I think, was last of the DNFs. Last of the chasers, I do believe. DNFs in this race, let's see. Jeff Green, I was right on that. Mark Martin, Blue Motor, B Swift. And that was it. Only 3 DNFs in this one. Take a quick look at the chase standings. And then I got to rush out of here. Got 35 minutes to kick off. I had to back the pace of that race down. It probably took a couple extra minutes away from me. I had to win the race first. Dave Blaney, 65 points ahead of Jeff Gordon. Yeah, only 4 chasers getting top 10s in this fuel mileage race at Dover, so that definitely shook things up. 107 points over Greg Biffle, Ryan Newman in 4th. Jimmy Johnson, Kevin Harvick. 1 race lead, separating 1st through 8th still. Dale Jarrett, Elliott Sadler, a couple rough starts to the chase there. 9th and 10th in the points, but they're over a full race back. They have finished outside the top 10 now in each of the first 2 races, so they need to get it going. They've been good on the super speedway, so they can maybe get some points back at Dega. Otherwise, we'll see, though. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you guys tomorrow night. Kansas Speedway. I'll have the start time posted in the community tab at some point tomorrow morning. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good rest of your Christmas Eve night. Go